Well, what's up, everybody? This is Reality Check with Rios. I got a special guest, my main man, my ace from day one, my pops. What's up, Dad?
What's up, man? How you doing?
What am I supposed to call you? I'm supposed to call you Dad, Pops, Billy? What you want?
Whatever you want. I'll answer to all. I hear your voice and I answer.
Okay, copy that.
That's it.
So I want to introduce everybody to you because it's like such a funny, amazing, cool story about raising a young man, now the young man having his own sons, and now you're being a grandfather, raising those boys and getting to see like the different life, the different generations under you. And now, am I mistaken? Are you the elder now in the family as Mel Rios?
Yes.
You're the elder, right? So you have Tyler, Christian, me, Xander.
In our immediate family,
immediate.
Our nuclear family.
A nuclear family.
Yeah. I'm the elder. As far as within our generation. Yeah.
How does that feel, man? Being the.
I thought about it the other day because in looking at my aunts and stuff, because our aunt Nilda, it's only like 5-6 years older than me. Yeah. Maybe 7 years older than me. And then there's Siti Fuhi, and then
Grandpa.
That's it.
Yeah, that's alive.
Yeah,
but those are Grandpa's sisters.
Yeah, exactly. So I started thinking about this. And wow, I'm one of the elders. I guess I could speak more. Or have more say so.
Well, your say so, your word is the final word. Like not necessarily like, oh, my word is cement and written in stone. It's like it's a heavy.
It's an input.
It's a heavy input, and it's a trip. Now that I'm thinking about Grandpa William, you know what I mean? Like he was all grayed up, and like now I'm looking at you, and it's like, oh, it's a trip. Like now, Pops is the one. Like you're the one. Like you're the head honcho.
Of our nuclear family, yeah, I'm the elder spokesman.
Nuclear family, other family,
family, yeah. So it's something. It's but it's a responsibility, and then I was just talking, with your sister about I probably need to have a couple of conversations, just concerning some things, and then I'm gonna have the right to do it, and I have the right to do it on a lateral equal level with the other ones, that are elders in our family, so as a group, not as a nephew, but as a nephew still. But I'm still,
as that nigga right now, you're that guy. You're the head nigga.
I'll be 68. I'll be 68 in a minute.
You're 68
in a minute. Yeah, in a minute. Yeah.
So you're at that table, right? So what is it like now? Before we start getting into like stories and like raising and being a dad, what is that feeling like? You know what I mean? Like you said it hit you, but when did it like really hit you? Like, oh, like this is what it is.
Really, just more recently, like this year, especially when when you go through, let's just say, a health scare or epiphany, some kind of epiphany, and you start thinking and reflect on things, and you say, you know what, I need to, I'm at a certain point where I could step up, and it's not only my duty, but it's also something that I'm capable of, and so. That's when you start thinking about it, and then you start thinking about how to do the approach. How do you approach, and it's not only approaching the people who are on my level or, our elders among myself, but also the generation before me and the generation before that, meaning, like my kids or nephews or nieces, my sisters, and stuff like that, so, and have some serious, conversations,
And the older brother, you're the older brother.
Right. So when things happen, I'm, God forbid, it's going to come.
Yeah. So so we're talking about health scares. I've had my health scare recently, thinking that I had a cancer, but no, it was just a cancer scare. It does wake you up to like, shit, I need to get my shit together, or I need to, like, they hit your come to God moment. You know what I mean? Like when you come to God and you get right. But not even so much the get right with God. Like, we all have our relationship with God, and we all try to live the right walk. But it's like, let me get right with my family, with my people.
People.
Like let me get my relationships together and let people know that I love them. And I want to start off also by telling you I love you dearly.
Oh,
I love you dearly.
I love you too, so you know that.
But it wakes you up. Like, oh shit, I need to say that more. I need to be more open with my communication. I need to be more, what's the word? More transparent.
Right.
More transparent, because you can't just go through life thinking like, oh, they know I love them. Oh, they know how I feel. You know,
Right.
we try to do that, but it's like, no, how hard is it to tell them though? How hard is it to just do that?
It's know, for us, and the way we came up,
right?
It's never been a hard thing to say.
No.
We've always been very communicating affection to each other.
Yeah.
We've never not said,
I love you.
I love you, or
proud of you.
I'm proud of you, whatever. Yeah. So we've always been affectionate in that way, verbally and physically.
Yeah.
Also, where we, hugs and kisses are normal for us. In our family.
Yeah.
In our family. So. So the thing is, we tend to get comfortable, and they say, well, they know.
Yeah.
And me growing up, like just almost as like an only child.
Yeah.
Because I was raised by my grandparents.
Out here on
the West Coast, in San Francisco, in Puerto Rico, in Dominican Republic, Haiti,
Wait, you were in Haiti also?
Yeah, well, we were, missionaries.
Missionary with great grandpa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we would go to Haiti to do proselytize, basically, And
what's that? That's what does that mean? Proselytize? That's
to save souls.
Save souls.
To
okay.
try to create a church within a village or something like that.
Okay.
And
handing on the word, preaching the word,
preaching the word.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was with them, since I was 3 years old.
Okay.
So, and I always had contact with my sisters and my mom and my dad and stuff like that. But I lived with my grandparents from an early age.
Yeah.
And so I was always a lot by myself.
Yeah.
So it was nothing for me to not speak with somebody like my sisters or my mom. It was never a big deal that I went a month without speaking to my mom.
Yeah.
Because it was
the norm.
It was the norm growing up. So and then it carries onto your adulthood, and so you got to catch yourself. You got to check yourself on that. Say, hey, I'm too comfortable not calling, Jason, or calling Star, or talking to Ty or whatever,
Yeah.
I haven't spoke to, George in a month, and that gets too comfortable, and I got to check myself, say, I got to make a call. I got to call,
I have to do better. Like, that was something that I was checking myself on. Like, you got to call more. You got to talk more, communicate more. And so that was what my scare led me to, you know what I mean? But then when you had your situation, your heart situation, or congestive heart, right? That was also another moment for me where I'm like, oh shit, like life is right here on me. Like mortality is right here, and face the facts. So, like, everything that we have right here is not forever.
True.
This is not forever. This is a time that will pass. Like, you have to cherish these moments and cherish the people that you have. And like, I don't want to say that it was a blessing in disguise or a curse and a blessing or whatever, but your health you look better now than you did prior to that.
That's true.
Like, whatever it was that happened, the doctors, they said this, you have to have this routine or whatnot, but you look younger now than when you did a year before that.
2021,
2021.
Yeah.
And so, what was that like?
It was. It was definitely a wake-up call. I mean, I knew I was sick for probably 6 months before that, and it was just kind of like I've never been one to be at the doctor all the time and stuff.
Wait, let me stop you. This dude is so stubborn.
But that's not good.
It's not good. Like, but you're stubborn. Like, you were, and I think you knew what was going on, but you were being stubborn to the fact of what was going on. So, I fell asleep. I just took a nap, but you were passing out. Like at work and having moments, your heart rate was up, and how were you trying to trick yourself? What were you telling yourself?
That it would pass. That it was something that would just happen for a little while, and it was just
Go
pass.
away.
I just didn't think it would be something that had to do with my heart. I
Yeah.
just thought it was sleep apnea or whatever, and it was causing that or whatever, and I knew I had sleep apnea, for a long time, but you're right. You trick yourself, it'll pass, it'll get better, whatever. But no, it didn't. And then, you're really scared when you tell, your significant other, like, I need to go. You need to take me to emergency.
Yeah.
So when you say that, then
that's the
then
final
you
straw.
see the
That's
fear,
like, this is the reality now is here.
Then you see the fear in their eyes.
Yeah.
Because they've been saying, hey, we need to go. And I've been like, I'll be good. But so then they realize, oh, it must really be bad, for me to
especially
say
coming
that.
from your ass, like this little stubborn, crazy person right here saying something's wrong.
Right.
Like, we need to go right now.
Right.
We gotta go.
It literally was.
We
like
gotta go right now.
Right now.
And they told you if you didn't, it was going to be.
I was on the edge. I was on the edge. Yeah, I was on the edge. I waited way too long.
Okay.
And stuff. So anyway, but got treated, got all better. I spent almost 10 days in there. And take care of myself now, do my medicine, take it religiously, take it on time, I don't skip, and then, but I'm in a fortunate position, and that's what's scary about our healthcare system, that I'm fortunate.
Yeah.
Because I have all the coverages there are.
Yeah.
And I can afford, my medicines, and and I'm still of sound mind, and I'm not in a situation where I'm stressed out about other stuff that makes me forget about, I need to do this, I need to do that. And so I'm fortunate in that way. And I have support, my support from my family, my family, from you to Star to Rachel and Christian and everybody in my family. Everybody, Tyler, the support, and that helps you do right and do better,
Right.
So I mean that's an important thing, as far as family. Family is it's good for your health.
So
basically,
is your this is just for my own wanting to know. So is your insurance is combined insurance because it's still VA? It's still VA or
no? I still have my postal.
Okay.
Insurance,
Okay.
Which I should switched over. Yeah, and then I still have my work insurance, and I have the VA.
You have everything. I was just telling somebody about how the postal service has changed so much. Like, I remember being in the post office as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, being in there, me and Star being in there.
I used to take you guys in there, yeah.
And it would be like a park. Like, it was like fun. You know what I mean? Like, because everybody was in there. You knew everybody, and everybody's like, oh, Jason's like, but now, like, the environment to what it is now is like completely different.
They've actually sabotaged it to the point where the purpose of it is to try to privatize it, to privatize the post office.
Yeah.
So letters will get to New York, Chicago, LA, for 72 cents, a letter or whatever.
Yeah.
But a letter to Tupelo, Mississippi, or a letter to somewhere in the rural area of Montana is going to cost you $3, $4 because, and then the thing about the post office is a service. And then, a letter to go to Tupelo, Mississippi, or, some small town in Montana and to New York is going to cost the same across the board.
Yeah.
So that letter going to Montana or Mississippi or Alabama in the country, it costs more. So you lose money, but it's the post office is about making money. It's a service.
Yeah,
it's a public service. That's in the Constitution. So they basically ran it to the ground over.
Did
the last
they start
10
with
years.
the trucking? Did they knocked out the trucking first? Right, like they started hiring independent contractors.
That they started subcontracting stuff, but they also started with what they call the poison pill, through in the early 2000s with George Bush and the presidency. Anyway, this is all technical.
It's all good. Like this we can talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
They forced the post office to pay 75 years worth of medical coverage in a 10-year period. So every fiscal year is like September. I think September, October is your fiscal year.
Yeah.
So your year starts, and then up front, before we made a penny from postage and services and stuff like that, we had to pay into a trust fund,
Okay.
$4.5 billion
$4.5 billion?
into a trust fund, you know. So and that happened for 10 years to create a fund that was going to fund medical coverage for people on the pension. In the
Okay,
pension.
yeah.
But that was for 75 years down the line. You know, they wanted to front load it.
Yeah.
So they did that. You know, they this new postmaster they got over the last 7-8 years, he's destroyed machines. He's shut down processing centers. So the mail actually backs up. It's slower.
Purposely.
Yeah.
So it's sabotage so that they could line their pockets.
Yeah, so they can say, okay, we need to sell it and privatize it. You know, so.
Damn. All right, so let's get to it. So, Puerto Rican, born in New York.
Born in New York, Lower East Side, Manhattan.
Lower East Side, Manhattan. Coming to L.A., or Los Angeles. Like when you did, I don't know what age you were when you got here. But I want to ask, this, like being Puerto Rican at that time, in the time that you were here, was it like, because when I was coming up in the 80s, like the kids that I was around, they really didn't know what Puerto Rican was. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like it wasn't like
out west.
Out west. It wasn't like a thing that everybody was like, oh yeah, Puerto Rican. It was like I had to explain what Puerto Rican was. What was that experience like for you as a kid being out here in LA as a Puerto Rican? You know, but you was always around brothers. You know what I mean? Like,
well, when first coming out here, I mean, we went to San Francisco first. I was 8 or 9 years old. It was 8 or 9 years old, and we went there for a year or 9 months to a year, and then my grandfather started a church and left it to somebody, and then we came to LA to do the same thing. When we came to LA, we went to LA. We went to Vermont and after 91 or after whatever it was, we went to LA. So that's where we were. And see, I had always been around other Caribbean or other Latinos that were Caribbean based, whether they were Dominican, Puerto Rican, you know,
like African black based,
Cubans and stuff like that, you know, within the church.
Oh, okay.
Because we were in the church a lot, you know. So we were always around. Even here, we were always around other Puerto Ricans, you know, other Latinos, Caribbean, you know, descendants, you know, Dominicans and stuff like that. And so. And then Guatemala and Nicaragua and stuff like that, you know. So, but once you go to school and out and about, no, it was different because I didn't know who I fit in with. You know, so I gravitated. You know, it wasn't like I gravitated. You know, I never gravitated towards the Latinos that were from here. Yeah. You know, it was. So I went to the next most comfortable thing, which was the African Americans. You know? And that was more. It was a comfort level there because in our culture we have African descendant, you know, Afro Puerto Rican or Afro Panamanian or, you know, or Afro Nicaraguan, whatever, you know. There's always, you know, or Dominicans, you know, or Cubans, you know. So it was always
that was your normalcy.
That was normalcy, yeah. So that's coming out to LA. That's how it worked, you know, to where I just gravitated to hanging with that group, you know, and so, you know. So and then I was always around other Latinos within the church. Okay. Yeah, you know. So
okay. So now coming up, okay, now you're getting, what would you like? Ingratiated into the culture of Los Angeles, right? Like into the culture of Los Angeles, going to church, now going to school, and you guys were it. I don't want to say it was like the normal church, because you were in church all the time.
We're Pentecostals. Pentecostals. So they're, I mean, people have the holy rollers, you know, they call them that. I mean, that's the side name that they have for them. But we was in church twice on Sunday, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday night, and twice on Sunday.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday
night.
And then twice on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday school and then Sunday.
So 5 days, 5 times a week. And it was like, what, 2 hours?
Yeah. Oh, no, it was a service. Yeah. And, but it was normal to me. Yeah. See, I was from 3 years old on. It was, you know, that's what I knew, you know. Okay. So it was normal to me, you know, until I became about 13, 14 years old. Then I was like, you know, I'm cool on this, as far as all this time, but, because they would have like Tuesday night would be for the women
Yeah.
service, Thursday nights would be the men's service,
Yeah.
and then Saturday would be together, and then Sunday school and Sunday night service would be together, so yeah. And Pentecostals, they were pretty strict. I mean, women couldn't cut their hair. They had to wear dresses below their knees. They sat on one side of the church and the male sat on the other side of the church. Stuff like that. They couldn't wear really jewelry and stuff like that. So it was pretty conservative.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was.
So how did you break out of that conservative? Because you broke out of it.
Yeah. Well, once I got to like I said, 13, 14 years old, I started, being in middle school, junior high school, they called it back then. And then I hanging around, going to school with making friends and making friends at that level, becoming a teenager.
Yeah.
And I was definitely around different groups at that time, so
What groups?
Well, I mean, I hung. I mean, the Mexican. I was in Wilmington at the time, so we had our Mexicans, and we had our white dudes, and then we had the brothers, so I literally hung with all of them, every single one. It was depending what day or who was around, whatever. It was I was deep into like rock and roll at that time.
What?
Man, I was Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, 10 Years After. I mean, Iron Butterfly. I mean, all those, it was.
So was that a part of like a lifestyle? Like, was the rock and roll, was that like a lifestyle thing? Like just a rebel, like against the...
It was, yeah, in a sense, because I actually went to concerts,
because rock and roll was kind of like, I don't know how it is today. I might be talking ignorant or not, but to me, it always seems like it was like against the system.
Yeah.
It was always like rock and roll was always like bucking against the system, like the police, the government, this, whatever it is, are the church.
It was more like, it was definitely a backlash to what I came up at, so, and my grandparents were my grandparents, so, I mean, that's funny. They raised me and they were older, so by that time, I had a little bit, quite a bit of freedom.
Yeah.
And I could basically say or do as I pleased. I kept it respectful within the house, but once I was out, it was, I was exposed to a lot of different things, so I kind of got away from the church a little bit, but I still showed up. I still respected them, and I went to the service, and I acted appropriately and stuff in church,
But that's a common theme for you, is showing up. Always showing up. No matter what is going on, you have always showed up. So it started, because that's going to lead into a later conversation we're going to have, but so it even started then, like where I know what my base is, I know what my foundation is, but I'm going to bounce over here, live my life, do what I'm going to do, but I'm still going to come back and line the fuck back up. You know what I mean? And be respectful and do what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Like it's almost like a duality, right? Like I'm over here doing this, but I can still be over here and be
definitely
be this guy. But the thing is, 13 and 14-year-old back then, to me, is the equivalent of a 22-year-old today.
We had so much. Well, the people. I mean, all the kids. We had a lot of a lot of freedom. We had a long leash. I mean, it really was back then. We're talking the early 70s. 70, 71, 72, 72 to 75. 73 to 75. I was in high school. 70, 71, 72 is middle school and stuff. And even before that,
damn, you got to grow up in a cool time.
And it was right after the whole civil rights thing and the Vietnam War. And actually, the Vietnam War was still going on at that time, which it didn't until 1975. And I still went into the service after
seeing that.
Yeah, but it was a lot of freedom to do the things that you wanted to do.
Well,
there weren't no guardrails.
And you weren't plopped in front of a TV.
No.
You weren't on a video game.
No.
It was like, if you want to experience life, You got to go out to the railroads. You got to go out to the tracks and go out here and
the
experience.
swamp or whatever. Yeah. So, the Harbor City, the swamp out in Harbor City. You could mess around on railroad tracks. In Wilmington, you got railroad tracks everywhere.
Was it Ghost Town?
Ghost Town was right across the street from the church, and Puerta del Cielo was the name of the church. The Door of Heaven was literally across the street on the other side of PCH for Ghost Town. I used to be in Ghost Town all the time. That was hang out. Yeah.
So, we don't have to reveal too much, but when did you? Then you went to Banning.
Yeah, I went to Banning.
You went to Banning High School
right after the earthquake.
Right after the earthquake.
In 1971 there was a huge earthquake. And,
here okay.
Yeah, in Southern California, and Banning was an old school, brick buildings and beautiful actually. And then but the main building cracked in half, and it was inhabitable, so they had to shut it down. And then they knocked everything down and they replaced it with bungalows. Okay. It was known as Bungalow High School. Okay. Because everything was bungalows everywhere. So I literally went to high school in bungalows the whole time I was there. The year I graduated was the year they opened up the new school.
What? Yeah. And so when you graduated, so then now we go through here, we go to, was it right from high school into the military? Yeah. What made you decide to join the Navy? What was that about?
When I was my last year or year and a half or 2 years, I took, they have occupational courses at high school at that time, welding or the nursing skills, nursing.
The shit they need to bring back into the schools right now.
So I actually took nursing course at Banning High School.
In high school.
And it was me and another guy, and then it was all females. Okay. Which was one of the reasons too. We were treated well, So anyway, but I really took.
So you always been a ladies' man?
No. I was goofy. I was goofy. I mean, I was cool when I was doing.
But you was into the ladies.
Yeah.
I was
always chasing. Yeah. I hardly ever caught one.
But you was chasing. You was out there fishing.
I was in shape. No. Anyway, but it was easy to feel good. Yeah. At that time, because of, there was plenty of substances around. Okay. That was easy to do, and everybody else. It seemed like everybody else
was doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I still remember her, Mrs. Knoll. She took a liking to me, so she even talked to my grandpa and said, he's good, he does well, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I took a liking to the medical field, basically. Yeah. So I went to the Navy because of, they let me be a hospital corpsman, which is a medic in the Navy. Yeah. So that's why I went to further my interest in the medical field. And to get the GI Bill.
Okay, get the GI Bill to
pay for college.
To pay for college and to pursue what you wanted to have as a career, which was in the medical field. You weren't sure exactly what at the time, but this is the direction. See, that's a lot of maturity for a young person to make decisions that early. You know what I mean? You rarely see that with kids now. Oh shit, this is what I'm gonna do. Boom, boom, boom. Right. So now you get into the military, and now what?
Well, I went to boot camp, San Diego, and then I went to school for the hospital corpsman school, and then after that, then I wasn't going to be in the Navy. I ended up being attached to the Marine Corps. So, because the Marine Corps is part of the Navy, they're under the Department of the Navy, so they have to have medics.
Oh, so you were a medic for the Marines?
Yeah, so I ended up having to go to a thing that's called Fleet Marine Force School, which is at Camp Pendleton, which is also almost like another little boot camp, and you learn how to do battlefield stuff, battlefield wounds, all that kind of stuff, and you train. You run on the beach, you go into cold water. I mean, we had SEAL medics that were there. We had, all different groups.
SEAL medics? Navy SEAL medics?
Yeah, that were medics that were going to be medics. Yeah. Medics that were going to be SEALs. That had to go through that. Or hospital corpsmen. They call them hospital corpsmen. And so we were all a group, and it was, so we did that. And after that, got my orders, and I was going overseas, so I went overseas to Okinawa.
Okinawa?
I was there for a year. But while I was there, you train a lot. You do jungle warfare training, you mountain warfare training, you do amphibious landing training and stuff like that. So you travel from there. It's basically you're based there, but you travel to the Philippines or to
No, okay,
Japan.
I was about to say, damn, I was a liar because I always tell the kids that Grandpa was in the Philippines in the jungle. So I was, okay,
2 different times.
Okay,
two different times, and then Punsang, South Korea for amphibious landing, Japan for mountain warfare.
Yeah, damn. And then when you came, you met Mom, but because Mom always says she remembers Camp Pendleton.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was stationed there.
So how old were you when you and Mom met?
It was 1978, 79. So I was 18 when I went in at 75. So I was 21
years old when you met Mom. You guys was Star born first before marriage, or were you guys married before Star was born?
We were married before
Star was born.
Yeah,
so
we were married while I was in the Navy.
Okay, so how long before till you guys got married when you guys met each other?
It was June of 1979.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Mom being black woman, black family. And this is just for me because I just want to know this stuff. Like, I'm just curious. Like, in the time that it was 78, was that like a frowned upon thing, or was that like a thing? No, it was just it was regular.
It was cool because I used to come up to Long Beach all the time. I mean, it's only like
5 minutes,
35, 40-minute ride.
Oh, you talking about from Camp Pendleton?
From Camp Pendleton.
Oh, I thought you were talking about from Wilmington.
I used to be in Long Beach all the time because I was in the Navy. I was stationed there, so I had basically a 9 to 5.
Yeah, and
then I had to train and stuff, or I had to do what I used to have to do, night ranges and stuff like that. So, but when I was off, 80% of the time, I go in, I start at 7:30 in the morning, I'm off by 4:30, and then if you're not on duty, you go. So, and I never lived on base, I did for a week, and that was
like over that.
What
was that, like too much eyes on you, like too much under the microscope?
Yeah,
like, I get out of here, let me go do my own thing.
A lot of goobers,
Yeah, a lot of goobers.
So it's and I was, I don't know about the stories, but I had a lot of I like to do a lot of things that they were frowned upon, within the confines of the base. So, but your Aunt Sherry and your mom could tell you some stories regarding that. When they used to come pick me up. So every once in a while, when I would go out training in the field for like a couple, 2-3 weeks, and we'd be gone, and then we'd come back, they would come pick me up.
Okay.
And stuff, but. It was not. No, it was fine. I was in Long Beach all the time, and Long Beach was, as diverse as diverse can be.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of intermingled together. It was normal. Everything was normal as far as that. So we never had that. The only issues that we ever had regarding that was housing.
Housing.
Yeah. So basically, if we went together, it was more likely than not. It was likely that we were not going to
get the apartment or get the place
over somebody else
because of Mom being black.
Exactly.
Really?
But if I went by myself, it was almost always
Really?
Okay,
no, I don't know why I'm saying really like that, but like it seems like that was so not that long ago. That was not that long ago for that to be happening.
1980, when we first started. Well, actually, we had an apartment in Laguna Hills, but it was a new development. So, but anyway, when I got out and we were looking for housing in Long Beach, we had to go through some hoops.
That's crazy. And so, now married. So young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so young. And just to like touch on some things like growing up, or like when I grew up out of the house, when I grew up out and I'm like reflecting and I'm like thinking like, oh, Mom and Dad, all the negative things that I could think of that you guys did wrong, right? Like, oh, that's how kids think, right? Like we're so hyper focused on what wasn't right. You know what I mean? That you don't focus on what the good stuff was or what went right or what was the good stuff, but you just want to be mad and this and that. And so I was that way for a while, you know what I mean? I always loved you and always respected and whatever, but I always had that in the back of my head, oh, they should have did this or this and that. My own opinions and my own thoughts of what I think should have happened. But then when I became a father or became married and having those same experiences, then you start reflecting like, holy shit, they were 20, 21. When I'm going through this shit with my shit together in a whole different way, like, oh, they were babies, having babies, like, and trying to figure out life. And then that's when you like, oh, shoot, my parents are dope. You know what I mean? Like, my parents are dope because...
We made a lot of mistakes, but mistakes is part of parenting. Mistakes is part of growing up. Even if you don't have kids, you know, mistakes are part of your life experience, you know, and if you survive those mistakes, then you come out okay, you know, on the other end. But, you know, it's being able to survive those mistakes, you know, and learn from those mistakes, you know. Guaranteed, me and your mom, we made a lot of mistakes, you know.
Guaranteed, everybody's made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, but, you know, and you think that, oh, my God, I can't believe I did that, or why is this happening, whatever. But, you know, later on, you realize we're not the only ones. I mean, it's not just us.
Right.
You know, I mean, when you start seeing everybody else, it's hard. It's hard. You know, I don't care what stage of life you do it. It's still hard.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard work. You know, so it's because you're literally responsible for another human being.
Everything.
And you can do all the side stuff you do, but you always got to come back to handling your business when it comes to your family, you know. And if when that gets in the way, then that's when those mistakes you almost can't recover from unless you do something drastic.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about that. Learning how to parent, like being a father. What bag did you reach into for those skills? You know what I mean? Like your grandparents. And is that, but what did you, so the, like the affection, like speaking life, you know what I mean, into your children, like those are things that I didn't see everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see, like I'm not gonna hold no blows. Like you did your shit. You know what I mean? Like you were doing your shit, whatever you were fucking up or whatever, but that never stopped loving your children. No. That never stopped loving your children, never stopped showing up for your children. You know what I mean? Like I tell people this all the time. You can have all the fucking money in the world as a father and not show up to things. And there could be a poor father that has no money and shows up to everything. I'll show you the child that appreciates a father more is the one who shows up, right? The father who shows up. And so you showed up to everything, you know what I mean? And you were always vocal about appreciation, love, and this and that. Is that from Grandma Paula? Is that from Grandpa?
The ethics, as far as being there, getting up in the morning, going out.
Grandpa.
I used to watch that old man, that's an old man, go with his lunch pail. He was a lunch pail grandpa every morning. And I used to watch him when I'd be home, when he would be home. If I was home and when he got home, going in, looking tired with his lunch pail.
Right.
Every day.
Was he longshoreman?
No. He worked for Borg Wagner in the city of Vernon. And he was he used to
that's automobiles, it's vehicles.
No, it's parts. He used to heat these parts, and then he would heat them to a certain heat, whatever this metal, you know, and then he would inspect them for cracks.
Okay.
And if they passed it, he would be the one that passed it, and then it would move on.
So like quality check. He was like a quality check.
Huge machine parts, you know, that would go into these machines, you know. And so that's what he did, you know. What? And so and he was a pastor. He was a reverend. He was a minister. That was
present. That was there
at night at 7:00 at church.
Yeah,
from work. And so he worked 5 days a week. And I still remember his salary from the church. It was $130 a month.
What?
That's what he
$130 a month.
That's what he would make from the church. And so he had a full-time job, and he would still do the preaching of a single church. And then he was also officer within the organization. It was called Asamblea de Dios, Assembly of God, but in Spanish it would be Asamblea de Dios. And he would do that stuff too at the corporate level or at the national level.
Yeah.
And so watching him do that, working on the sermons, right after he got off work, to take a shower, and he would be working on the sermons, at the table, watching my grandmother do what she did to make sure that he was able to do what he had to do.
Her support of
him, and then her making sure that that lady swept that house every day. And she cooked for me. She actually did so much. I mean, because she used to make me. Sometimes I didn't like what she was making for my grandfather. She would make me my own dinner. That was my grandma.
But Grandma Paula, though,
Grandma Paula, she was a strong woman.
More than all our cousins on the black side of the family, all of my cousins say that Grandma Paula is one of the best cooks that they've ever been around. Like her food was just, and I remember her food. I remember us, the kids, just sitting there waiting for her to be done cooking. You know what I mean? Like to eat. And it was just like, damn, she did do a lot of shit. And she was the shit.
Yeah,
like,
she was.
And we had the same birthday. Yeah, me and Grandma Paula, June 29th, we had the same exact birthday.
She was jazzed about that. That was her thing. He was born on my birthday.
Sure.
But I got it from them. And it was not so much these speeches or lectures that they gave me. It was just watching them.
Yeah.
I watched them. I would sit there and watch them all the time.
Yeah.
And they were affectionate with each other, They were old and they were still affectionate with each other, know. Not disrespectful. They were just affectionate with each other. They loved each other,
Peas in a pod.
They were committed to each other, and it kind of rubbed off. I mean, like I said, it wasn't a thing you need to do this and this is how you got to do that, but it wasn't a constant thing like that. It was just watching them. Yeah. And then, I mean, that's how come, it's so important, like we have to realize our kids are watching us, and we get lost in that is like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And
they're paying attention.
They're paying attention to everything,
They're sponges. And so saying that you got that from grandma and grandpa is like a beautiful thing because I remember them being together. You know what I mean? Like I got to meet my great grandmother. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Sure did.
She lived with them. You know what I mean? Like and it was just like being able to like see that, right? Like I saw that, and they were just years away from what we were, you know what I mean? Like as in how old they were and what they were. Yeah. It was just
and where they came from.
And where they came from, it was like they were from a different time.
Right.
Right.
And it wasn't easy on them coming up because they came up poor in the country in Puerto Rico. Yeah. And we call it La Finca, but it was in the hills. Yeah. And they had to go fetch their own water. They had to wash clothes in the river. Yeah, I mean, it was like that. They had outhouses, and it was it makes your hands hard and working hands. It gives you working hands. Yeah. Damn. And so that does something. I mean that it rubs off. When you watch it in living color.
That's dope. And another one of the things that I want to talk about is you're recovering addiction to things. You know what I mean? Like
a recovering alcoholic and a recovering addict.
And a recovering addict, and I'm the same. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I didn't go the same routes that you went. It didn't go.
Whatever works.
You know what I mean? It didn't go as far. But I want to say why I think it didn't go as far is because of what you went through, and what me and Star being exposed to.
And what I put you guys through.
What you no. I
put you guys through hell. Yeah.
No, not. I'm talking about going to the meetings.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Shit is rough like that. Like that's not what we're here for. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like. Dealing with an alcoholic is what it is, you know what I mean? But that we're not here to beat a dead horse. We're talking about what came or what grew out of that. Right. You know what I mean? Okay. And so we all have our vices. Fuck it. We all have vices and we all go through our ups and downs, but that's nor here nor there. But me being exposed to the AA, the meetings, the Alcoholics Anonymous, and me and Star sitting through meetings. Like, dude, we was in there.
You guys came to the house.
We came to the houses, halfway houses. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and meeting people and hearing their stories and this and that. And a lot of that shit I didn't think I was paying attention to. You know what I mean? Because I thought we was just going for the cake and the coffee at the end of the meeting. You know what I mean? Like, we'd be running around doing it, you know, like, but a lot of that shit resonated with me. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of those stories, a lot of the brothers that passed away that didn't make it from their habits. And so it was a point where Zaya realized that I was tipsy on the 4th of July, like 2 years ago, like maybe 2-3 years ago, I can't remember. But she called Ayana and said, I think Dad is tipsy. And that shit fucked me up because it took me to the point where I would remember when you and Mom would be tipsy, or like, you know what I mean? Like noticing. And I was like, it like just woke me up like, oh, you're going into a pattern. You're following a pattern. Get on it now. Right. You know what I mean? And so
it's good that you realized it.
Recognized it. And it was just like, I don't think I would have though. Had I not had my past experiences with it, it would have just been like, whatever, you know what I mean? Right. But because I went through it and I was like, oh, like I know if Dad or Mom or uncles, if whoever's tipsy, I know I'd be like, hey, let me get $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because more willing to like, get you out of here. I want to go to the store. Like, hey, get out of here. But it just it was a wake-up call. Like, oh, okay, I don't want to, they say breaking the chains. You know what I mean? Like breaking the chains of what was the past. You know what I mean? What we came through, because I don't want that to be a normalcy in my household for them to think that this was what my dad was doing, so I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, you turned your shit around early though. Like, I think we didn't. It wasn't like into my teenagers. It was early that you went through whatever you went through. 1991. So it was 10. I was like, everything was up to 10. Right. And so, even though at 10 years old, you're still very much aware. Still,
and those are formative years. Those that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are formative years. You know. So they're important years. You know. By the time you're a teenager, I mean, you've kind of developed who or what you are, you know, and then you just kind of get new experiences, and it exemplifies what you already are, you know. It's good that it was, you know, that I did it that time, but there was a lot of, you know, reflection on my part, you know, and fear. Okay. You know, and one of the reasons that I did go into recovery, decided this was it was fear. It was fear.
Fear of what?
Of my family. You know, it's just
losing your family,
losing my family, hurting my family. You know, disappointing my family. You know, it's nothing like looking at your family and then you know, seeing. The eyes and and it's just like, no,
I'm not doing this no more.
No. And I took a drastic. I took myself to the hospital, you know, and said, I gotta change. I gotta change. It's either this or I die, go to jail, or I'm
gonna lose everything. Exactly, I'm gonna lose everything, lose my family. And that is I remember. This is like I don't know if I remember it wrong or what, but I remember at the rec playing baseball or one of the football teams or whatever, and we went to the Dodger game. And on the bus, on the way back, I think you got arrested, or they pulled you off the bus. And I ended up going home back. I don't know if all that had started after that, if that was like the final straw, where you was like,
yeah, you know, you really want to hear the story? What the final straw was? It had to do with the Long Beach Sprinters.
Oh, okay. The
track meet. Yeah. The coaches had to go somewhere, and they left me all the equipment, and all the stuff that for the track meet that weekend at Long Beach State.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't show up.
Oh shit. Oh, I don't remember that like at all. I don't.
Yeah, I didn't show up.
Damn.
And I had all the stuff, and I knew the next day. Oh man,
like the batons and
everything,
everything.
the sheets and all everything. Anyway, and then the next day I took it. I took all that stuff to somebody who was on the team, and I left it at their house. You know, and I think it was right after that week, that Monday or the next day or whatever, when I finally decided,
this is enough.
You straightened up enough to go get myself right, get checked in, and did it in 91. It was April of 91, and went to recovery. And then recovery is there's no guarantee with recovery. When you go into recovery, the failure rate is more than 50%.
Yeah, because you fall off. What's it called? The
relapse.
Relapse.
So,
fall off the wagon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I still remember because I don't know if you remember my sponsor Randy.
Yeah.
Randy. Okay. So
I think Randy was around here.
I ended up I took him on as a sponsor. So in 9 months in, I relapsed. 9 months in, or almost a year, and I slept on his couch. I slept on his couch for a week.
Yeah.
And then and from that point on, and that became April 29th.
April 29th.
That was April 29th when I finally, was got back clean and sober.
Okay.
Okay. And then and from that point on, April 29th of 92.
Okay.
It was, I haven't had a drink or
nothing.
Nothing.
And I remember the word, that's how I learned the word relapse.
Right.
And the thing is, like, what I appreciate about it, Dad, is that you were going through shit. You were going through whatever you were going through. Mm-hmm. I was going through whatever I was going through when I was, and you didn't necessarily share what you were going through, but you didn't hide the apology. I'm sorry, or
right.
Dad messed up. That like you kept us in the loop with that shit. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like that. Oh, it's just Daddy's going to magic place and this and like making up some fairy tale shit.
No,
it was always like Dad fucked up. I'm trying to get my shit back together. I promise that won't happen again. But it made us realize, I realized what relapse was, like what falling off in the chips, and then the 8 months, and then the 6 months. I remember being proud of the chips,
right?
And then having to go back to the beginning of the chips,
right?
You know what I mean? Like
I did one time. Relapse one time.
But to me, I feel like that shit saved me in my later life, because right now people always ask me, like they always say, how did you get over the drinking? How did you get over the drugs? How did you get over this? And I always have I can explain is like, you just have to find what you value in life. You have to find what you love, what matters most to you, and to live for. And will this help you gain that, or will this help you lose that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, will doing this help you gain what you love in life, or will it make you lose that shit? And so but I've heard that shit before. You know what I mean? I've heard that in meetings. I've heard that in things as a kid. And I just believe God does everything for a reason. And it's led me to where I am today, to where now I'm like talking on the internet, having podcasts where there's people that hit me up and say, thank you for talking about that. I was in a place today where I needed to hear that, and it gave me strength to not pick up the drink, to not do this and that.
Right.
And it's like, damn, me and my dad kind of went through the similar stuff in life. You know what I mean? And I gained strength from your experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though we experienced that together, I experienced it as a child.
Right.
And people can look at it and be like, oh, well, that was fucked up, and no kid should have to go through that or whatever. But guess what? A kid did go through that, and a kid made the most of it. And that was with the dad who knew he was messed up, but still was recovering and still loving his children. You were never not there. You know what I mean? Like you were in a halfway house and still going to track meets, still taking us to practice.
Mm-hmm.
We might not have been living with each other, but I knew my dad to always be there.
Right. Yeah, that was important to me. You know, it's always been important to me. You know, that part of it. You know, and it's just a matter of staying connected. You know, and it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility. You know, I mean, I've always taken that part serious. You know, and then I know drug addiction and alcoholism. It really is. It is a disease.
Yeah,
and it has to be. And it, like they say, it never goes away. You're once an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. But
Yeah.
you're in recovery. You're in recovery. As long as you're in recovery, that disease stays in its place. As long as you're practicing your recovery, that disease stays in its place.
Right.
You know, and the minute you let your guard down or you forget, you know, oh, I'm okay now, or I can do this now, or I can, oh yeah, I think I can have one. You know, once you start letting that creep into your head and saying, oh yeah, I think I can handle
Just one.
I'm good. I'm all good now.
Yeah.
You know, I to this day, I don't have any kind of desires to do anything like that or any thoughts of it, but it's always a fear. You know,
Yeah.
I still, if I ever did,
I've had nightmares of
You
where
know?
I did it.
yeah,
And I woke up like, oh shit.
you know, if I ever did, you know, it's just it's an apocalypse for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's an apocalypse.
Okay.
Everything will blow up. Everything
Yeah.
will fall apart immediately.
Okay.
And so that's my thing. That's my driver right there. That everything will just go away.
Yeah.
You know,
Everything that you built
everything
will
I love,
crumble. Everything I love
love.
will crumble. And but you've kept that in reference. You've kept that in picture and image. Like, this is what I will always look to. When I feel like, nope.
Yep.
There's not even a question. It's not even close of what if I would ever try to sacrifice
Right.
this shit. Yeah. That's, life is such a trip. You know what I mean? Like, I be thinking about shit. And I used to me, I was a great kid. I was a good kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, before I go to that, I want to tell you that I forgive you. If you think that I'm mad at you about anything or that there's anything that I hold on to, I don't. I forgive you for absolutely everything. I love you,
Thank you.
more than you know. And none of that shit holds weight in what we have here today, what we're building in the future with your grandkids, with my wife, with my brothers and sisters. We're in a good place. I'm not mad at you for anything. I love you and I forgive you for absolutely everything. There's no reason to apologize for anything, but I want you to know, just so you know, I forgive all that bullshit. Like, whatever you think is in your head that you hold in the back of your head that you think is there, it's not. I love you and I forgive you. Don't trip off that. But what I want to talk about is what happened to me. Like, what went wrong? Like, so when I say that, just for the viewers, like, I felt like I was a good kid. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing good, maybe up to like the 6th, 7th grade. And then I feel like I just like took like a turn for like the worst. You know what I mean? And it was like, I talked to Ayana about the shit. She's like, damn, your parents must have been going crazy, like, at the shit that you were doing. And like, it had to be hell for y'all. And I want to apologize to you and Mom for what I was. You know what I mean? I can't even imagine my children being what I was at that time or doing what I was doing at that time.
Well, I mean, what you went through and what you did and the road you took, it's not an unusual road for a person coming up as a teenager, a teen, a young black teen,
Yeah.
you know, who is exposed to certain things within the environment or his environment, you know. So it was never a thing that you did that I didn't think you could come back from.
Okay.
You know, it was an experience that you went through, that you had to go through to get to where you are today. And we never ever gave up like, oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
There was never ever an inkling of that kind of conversation. They said we just gotta help. You gotta, support, don't let it fall through don't let them fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
'Cause they don't care about him.
Yeah.
Out there they don't care about him. Even the people that he's with that he thinks are his best friends or whatever.
His family,
they can't care about him the way we do.
Yeah.
All we gotta do is be there for him. And support. And so there was never any of that inkling. So we were always there for you. I just think it's just friends. I mean,
Yeah.
you get with certain crowds, and and you think that you have to be this or be that to fit in and be them. And that's just it snowballs.
Yeah.
It starts off small and then it gets bigger, and then the next thing you do is bigger or more daring. I went through it.
Yeah.
I didn't go through it in the street type of thing, but I went through it with drugs.
Yeah.
As a 13, 14-year-old. I did it with trying to be the cool one. Always trying to be the cool guy that had things and all that, know? And it kept ballooning. It didn't start off like I'm doing, I'm getting keys, whatever, It's just it started off with a joint, and then it goes to, a can of Old English, and then then moves on from there. And so it's the same thing, It was one small action that led to another small action that led to a bigger action, another action, and another action, and it snowballs, and then it becomes repetitive. And so I knew at some point that it's almost like a thing of growing out of it or realizing. He'll realize, because he's never not going to be loved.
Yeah.
He's never not going to be have somebody to go to or call on, or call for help. So I think that it was just the environment. I think it was just the crowd. And getting caught up in that, and I also think that I started really working a lot at that time.
Yeah.
And so you were on your own for a little bit, where there would be a parent at home at 6 o'clock in the evening. It would be one there till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I think some of it had to do with in particular me, setting boundaries, setting definitive boundaries, and which is important to do with your kids. You have to set boundaries, and it's a lesson that I've learned, that I had to learn, and I'm still,
But you were working
that,
2 jobs, full time, part time at one, full time at one, but it was you were having 14-hour days?
Oh,
14?
Minimum, yeah.
14-hour days.
16-hour days.
So I was home alone a lot. I was left to my own vices a lot. I did have my own freedom. But I'm more so like touching on when did you notice something was wrong though? Because it was something wrong. Because we could say like that, oh, it's the crowd and what you're doing. But I was seeking like crazy, it was like
it was after Norwalk.
After
You were already in high school, because you were going to Poly at that time. We were in Norwalk, and then we moved down to 4th Street.
Yeah,
on 4th Street.
Yeah,
and I think that's at that point everything was within reach for you there. Everything was there. Either direction. And like I said, I was working. I was working. Quite a bit at that time.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, and so like I said, you had a lot of free time.
But I think what I think it was, because this is what I was just trying to see if you had an idea. The Uncle Marvin killed himself, and then the divorce that like happened around the same time. Like I didn't feel like it affected me then. Like, you know what I mean? Like right. I was like, if somebody would ask me like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'd be like, "Well, I'm fine.
Good.
Like I'm good."
Yeah.
Like
we always say,
I'm good. Like, but now reflecting back on it and looking back at the times, it fucked me up. It like shut me down.
Yeah.
Like seeing Uncle Marvin and that it was just like
I remember.
You know what I mean? Like
that was a hard. The whole family took that hard. I mean, the whole family. It was just one of the most horrible experiences I've ever been through. You know,
and that was your brother too.
That was my brother. I mean, that was my brother. I mean, it was just more than my brother, you know. So, I mean, he came through for me a lot of times. You know, I was in trouble, you know, many times, and Marvin came through for me, and that was hard. It was extremely hard because it fucked me up too. You know, I mean, but
because it was out of nowhere.
I have a thing. I can internal, you know, compartmentalize things, you know, and not let it affect me in certain ways other than to be destructive to myself. Yeah. That's when I was, you know, out there doing my things and stuff. But I could still function and do things and not doing so much that it doesn't allow me to go to work. It doesn't allow me to pay my rent. It doesn't allow me to, you know, have food in the house and all that kind of stuff, you know. But the family took it. It destroyed the family. It's just about tore the family apart. I don't know about destroyed. But
we built back. But at the time, it tore it apart. Yeah. It was a different. It was just completely like. It was like a punch to everybody's stomach. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everybody. Everybody took a blow. Everybody got damaged by that. You know what I mean? Like it hurt, and it was just like. Losing the what do you call it? The patriarch of the family. Like out of the blue. Like I was and I really don't even think I was aware of like suicide like that. That wasn't something that
we dealt with.
And then dealing with the crushing blow to the family. You know what I mean? And then like how everybody was dealing with it in their own ways, and like the family kind of went into their dark shadows. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't. Because when you came together, it just wasn't the same. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like...
Suicide kind of brings on a blame game. You know? And people start thinking, oh, what did I do? Or what did they do? You know? Or what was said, what was not said? You know? So it kind of starts... People start taking stock into, okay, what was going on? What was going on?
Yeah.
And then if you stay in that, then it just gets bigger and bigger that negativity just gets bigger and bigger.
It's like a snowball effect.
Exactly, you know, and it affects everybody, you know, and then it frays relationships but you know, it's not unusual.
Yeah.
You know, every family that goes through somebody committing suicide within their family does the same thing.
Right.
You know, and it was hard because we were always together. We were always around each other. Every
birthday.
It doesn't matter.
Holidays.
Always, you know, it was always food and Domino's or Big Whiz and you know, going on. You know, and
Grandma, we love Big Whiz.
She sure did. She taught me how to play. You know, and. But yeah, it had a profound effect, and that was part of some of the things that people did. You know, not just you, but everybody else too.
Yeah.
The directions that they took and some of the things that they did. You know, and of course, you know, divorce always affects a kid, no matter how strong or how tough they are. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Even if the kid is like, oh, I don't care. Like,
no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, what we did, you know, it was 5 years after I was already clean and sober.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I mean, it's just because you get clean and sober doesn't fix everything.
No.
It's just, you fix yourself.
Yeah.
But there's still things going on that, you know, that you got to work on, you know?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know? And, and that was a tough time also. Yeah, that was tough because, you know, it was either here or there, whatever, you know, as far as living conditions.
Split households.
Split, you know, and then you guys were with me a lot, you know, and then, which was fine, you know. But then I started working two jobs, you know. And then, you know, and then you guys were at that formative teenage years.
Yeah.
You're talking about 14, 15, you know, about 15, 16, actually, you know, at that time, you know. You guys were
14, 15.
15, yeah, and that's tough for you guys to, you know, have, you know, the free reign that you guys had.
And then Grandma got sick.
Yeah.
Grandmommy got sick.
Yeah, you know,
not too long after Uncle Marvin, because that just Yeah, damn.
Yeah,
I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, so
Like-
a lot happened with that, but
Yeah.
you guys were young at that time. You guys, like you said, you guys were 12, 13, 14, 15, you know. That's a tough age to be, even in the best situation. That's
Yeah.
a tough age to be,
Yeah.
you know. And then we went through some turmoil. You know, I mean, as
Yeah.
a family and as individuals, we all went through turmoils. We all did our part, you know, in the good and the bad.
In the bad,
you know?
exactly.
You know, so but the thing about it is that at some, you know, getting through it. In the end, I mean, you know, and surviving it.
Look,
You know,
and look at
surviving.
us. 43. How old are you, Pops?
67.
I was going to say 68. You're about to be
June,
68
yeah,
in June.
yeah.
We went through some tumultuous times. We went through some tough times. We went through at each other's necks or not seeing each other or this and that, or where people could be like, oh, that's ruined. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is ruined.
No,
nothing
never.
cannot be. This is like a message. Like there's no relationship, no father-son relationship or mother-daughter relationship, father-daughter, whatever, that time cannot heal. You know what I mean? Like you could have told me back in the day one thing and I'd have been like, no. But it took me having to go through my life experiences to realize what love is, to realize what I value, what I prioritize, how hard things are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how hard things are as a kid. You just don't know. You can't ever imagine it.
Right. Just paying rent is hard.
Just paying rent is hard. Being an adult is difficult. And so you may think you have an idea of why you're mad or what's wrong here or this and that. But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, if you put the work in and you put the effort in to rebuild those relationships and build those relationships back up, we're an example of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We never turned our back on each other. Never.
Never. No.
Never got that far, but there was distance.
There was tension. Yeah,
Tension.
There was a tension of disagreements, you know, regarding of things you should be doing or shouldn't be doing and this and that. And then and I know I was at fault. You know, like I said, I made many mistakes. You know, the thing is to be able to survive those mistakes. You know, there's nothing like the reward of watching your son or daughter become who they are.
Right.
When they've gotten it. They've learned their lessons. They've taken the experiences, good and bad, and made something of it and started making the right choices for themselves and for their families, you know. And then when you watch your son or daughter doing the things that are good for their family, yeah, it's a reward. It's a reward. I'm rewarded every time I see you guys interact with your children. It's
you
a
sit
reward.
back and look at
it's a reward. It's a reward. It's like, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. I did. So that motherfucker even walk like me. Yeah. You know, so
people be saying, they say, you sound just like your damn dad.
Yeah,
you talk just like your dad. And so I'm so happy. I'm in such a good space. And I just want to say, I don't know what that is. But I'm in a good spot. You know what I mean? I want to say thank you for everything that you've done for me, for my family, for your family. Absolutely everything that you've done, how strong you were, how much of a role model. And you talked about the work ethic of Grandpa showed you. That was the same work ethic that I was shown. I've always been a worker. I've always wanted to work. I've always been wanting to do that sort of thing. So I want to thank you for that. I really, really do. I want to thank you for showing me how to be a father, showing me how to love somebody unconditionally, how to not be ashamed of your love for your child and this and that, and be your own person. And I just want to say, really on another level, thank you for raising other boys in my life. The Randys, the Jamars, the Deons, the Mansours, everybody, the Yogis, you know, like everybody they all see you still.
Yeah.
But you know what they tell me? They beasts. You know what I mean? Like everybody that and these is hood, like, you know what I mean? Like, not to get on the street shit or like hood shit, but the street hood cats that are like, dude, your dad was our dad. Your dad helped feed us.
Yeah,
you fed everybody. Like, we were, even if it was just some Costco ramen or this and that or whatever it was, people knew. Well, our close circle of friends knew that they could come and talk to Mr. Rios and come be with Mr. Rios and come sit at the house. I didn't have to be home.
No.
I didn't have to be home. You know what I mean? And I just want to thank you for being that role model, that figure in other people's lives, and showing me how to extend it past what your immediate family is. Like, everybody needs love. Everybody needs that father figure. Everybody needs that role model. Just that listening ear. Just somebody just to listen to them, or just to say, hey, come here, let me talk to you for a minute. And you did that through track, through football, through basketball, through every walk of life. You did that. And that's something that I'm modeling right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm modeling that. And I had that example of a dad that no matter what he was going through, no matter what struggles he was going through, drugs, alcohol, or whatever, he was always there to support anybody who needed it. You know what I mean? Like, my problems are never too big for me to be a blessing or a helping hand to somebody else. And I learned that shit from you. You know what I mean? Like, I learned that from you, just not you drilling it in my head, but from me watching you.
Right.
You know what I mean? 2 jobs, but still being available to kids that look to you for money. You got $2, $5, this and that. I'm hungry. They were like your kids. You know what I mean? Like,
no, it didn't matter. Yeah,
it didn't matter. And I got that. You know what I mean? And I want to thank you for bestowing those blessings upon me of those images and that exposing me to what a loving, caring man is like in the community.
Thank you.
And so I appreciate it. I love you.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for my son.
Hey, man. And so that's just it. I just want
daughters, you know. It doesn't matter. My kids, my grandkids. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You know.
And that's why I wanted to bring you here, is to say I'm sorry for things that I did.
You don't need to apologize.
No, but
see, that's the whole thing.
But it is because now as a father, I can only imagine the sleepless nights. You know what I mean? Like if JJ was anything like what finding things and what was going on, like we don't have to talk about.
Right, I know, but yeah,
or talking through me from the other side of a jail cell or from the other side of the glass, and like, and me just being like, oh, whatever happens, I ain't tripping. You know what I mean? And you just like,
but I knew you didn't really mean that, you know, because you were always growing up. You were always trying to be a little tough guy, but you were sensitive. You were always sensitive. And the way that you used to cry was to laugh.
Oh,
you
really?
Would laugh at stuff, you know. In the worst situation that you were in, you would just start laughing. And that was your way of deflecting.
So
you know?
when it was...
You were always sensitive.
So wait. So instead of crying, I would try to laugh it out. Like try to laugh through it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh... I wonder if that's a defense mechanism that I have now, that I did have like coming up or growing up, because I was like a funny guy, like the class clown or joking or whatever. Well, maybe that was what that was. Right. Was like something that I was comfortable with.
You know, and that thing about the empathy part, you know, when I'm growing up, it was nothing for me to come home from school and find a family in my room. You know, from Guatemala or Nicaragua or Panama, you know, that were refugees, you know,
really
coming over here, you know, getting away from El Salvador was a big one. You know, they were going through the Civil War, and the stories and stuff that I would hear, you know, from, you know, they would come with no nails, you know, because of,
they were getting pulled.
Exactly, stuff like that, you know, and it was normal to me. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, that's a little Pablo and Mrs. Elvira and Mr. Juan, you know. Whatever,
wait, El Salvador, is that the Contra? It was at
That was Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. I'm sorry.
Nicaragua, yeah, the Contras. But there was, they were mostly from Central America.
Yeah.
It would be a family. My grandparents would host, bring families over, and then they would live with us for like till he got them situated in place. They would live with us for a month, 2 months. It was just and it was normal. But they were my friends.
Yeah,
because they had kids.
Yeah. So that was your company, like that was like
my company. Yeah.
Like let's
and
hang
they would
out,
cook and all that.
So it really is like this is like a common recurring theme in this conversation, or a common theme is like how children really are paying attention, even if it's not purposely.
No,
like seeing what your grandparents were doing. Damn. Yeah. And maybe seeing what your father wasn't doing or what wasn't there is what I want to be for mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this is like even things that maybe you were not as strong in, right? That I felt like I needed more of. I just look at that and be like, okay, I'll do this. I'll do this more of.
Right.
It's like you're supposed to build on every example. Right?
Right.
Like build on every example. Like you built on grandpa's example.
Right.
Like now I'm trying to build on the example you left me. Like, oh, let's critique here or improve this here. So that now Xander, JJ could look at me.
Right.
And then be like, okay, dad be too loud or yelling too much. I'll take that out of it and add this to it. And they're a better product down the line. Yeah. So it's like improving the product. Yeah. And the kids get that from just watching.
Right. But don't forget, your kids kind of get used to you also, so they're not going to overreact just because you do a little something here, a little something there. It's all part of it, So I mean, they'll figure it out. They'll survive it, and then they'll figure it out. I mean, if you yell at them or say something, that's out of bounds or something, because you're frustrated or stuff. That's part of being a dad of an 18-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 3-year-old, whatever. You know? So it's all. The thing is in the end, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to make it better?
Right.
That's it. It's just what are you going to do?
How are you going to improve?
Exactly. And experiences. That's what experience does. You get better.
Yeah.
From experience. So.
Damn, it's like. And that, like being a grandfather now, right? Like being a grandfather. Did you ever picture that shit? Did you ever picture being a grandfather? Like, because you have grandkids. Not till
I became one. Yeah,
like you have grandkids.
Right, yeah.
Like, damn, that's bomb.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and it's...
And more to come.
It's it's a reward. Yeah, because I got
two more that's about to.
But like I said, it goes back to the reward. It's a lineage thing.
Yeah.
And a generation thing, but it's also a reward. It's just the pride and how proud one is. Where you watch them and then you watch them interacting and stuff. I go back to that. It's just You have your own family. You have to do all your own shit.
Yeah.
You have to do all this stuff yourself. And either you go to it or you just going to shy away from it, And some people, you're built for it. And I watch, he's built for this.
Yeah.
He's ready for this. He's been ready for this, He the person he chose to be with to finally do this.
Yeah.
He the choices he made the right choices. He made the good choices. That comes from somewhere. You know? That comes from experience and knowing what you want and what you don't want.
Yeah.
And it's and some people don't get it. I mean, so they go through life and they just don't get it. They just keep making the same mistakes over and over. And but it's a pride and a joy watching them and spending time with them and watching them light up when they see me when I walk in, and even if they haven't seen me in a long time, when I walk in, it's like Grandpa, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for me. It's a big deal just to see that reaction, just to have that interaction, So it's beautiful. Love is beautiful. Unconditional unfettered love. It's
Unfettered
beautiful.
love,
You know,
unconditional, unfettered love.
yeah,
Like,
it's beautiful. You know, it's beautiful, and them knowing that there's absolutely nothing that can go on that requires rejection or that I wouldn't do
yeah,
for them. I mean, whether it's a kidney or whatever, it doesn't matter.
my life.
You know, my life. You know, yeah, it's there. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and that goes for anybody from star on down. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just as far as the kids and stuff and the grandkids are concerned. You know, it's something that you live and die for.
Yeah.
You know, it's just to have that relationship.
And look, I'm still watching. I'm still watching. You know what I mean? Like,
Because you're gonna be a grandfather.
because I'm gonna be a
someday.
grandfather someday. So it's like you're never done growing.
Yeah.
You're
And I mean,
never
your
done.
mom it's a big part of that too, you know, because of watching her, you know, and how she is with the grandkids and stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's all a visual. It's all a visual, and it soaks in. I mean, you're still soaking in stuff, you know. Till the day you die, you're still soaking in stuff. There's stuff you're soaking in. I mean, you know, so it's learning and through osmosis.
Okay.
You know, and it's it works. It works. You guys work well.
Thank you, man. I
You guys
appreciate
work
that.
well. You guys work really well.
Thank you. Well, we had good examples of loving parents. We had good examples of people putting in effort to
Right.
get it, to try to get it right. To it's win, lose, or draw. Like, we're gonna put the effort in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be a question if did he try.
Right.
Oh yeah, he died trying. You know, like that's
Right, right.
that's where I'm at. But before we get out of here, like, I want you to, just because the most messages I get is from a lot of young men out there saying that I'm like an uncle, like just me at my age to them. Like, they're like, damn, like, you're an uncle. I didn't have a dad that talked to me or say the things that you say online or talk about the things that you talk about. I never had those conversations or those examples. And I'm dealing with this. I'm struggling with alcohol or drugs or relationship or not seeing my kids. And it's like, those conversations are what make me do this. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to talk about growing up and what we've gone through.
Right.
But what makes it easy is knowing that this conversation is going to be archived. I'll have this conversation with my dad long after he's gone. My kids will have
right.
this conversation.
Right.
Like, they will be able to look at this and
That's
be
a
like,
trip, yeah.
I can see, this is the photo album.
Yeah.
This is the photo album where Xander can be 45 years old and be like, damn, I'm going to watch Dad talking to Grandpa.
Right. Yeah.
About life.
That's a trip. Yeah.
And him talking about how much he loves us. Grandpa saying how he loves that when he comes in, that we make him happy.
Right.
That's something they'll be able to hold on to forever, you know? And so that's what makes this shit easy. This is the shit that makes talking and being vulnerable and open to my emotions and my ups and downs in life, because it's helping people out there and it's helping our own family. This is conversations that we need to have. This is shit that we need to do more. You know what I mean? Like,
true. Yeah.
And so
we get so busy and get caught up, and you know, it's just, yeah, you're right. You know, and I said it in the beginning of this conversation. You know what? I need to call Lisa. I need to call Heidi more. You know? It's just, we should get so caught up because we're so accustomed to just talking whenever we talk.
Yeah.
You know, instead of making it a priority or a routine. You know, to every 3 days, every 4 days, whatever. You know, or once a week at least, or something like that.
Yeah.
And we just call, make the rounds. You know, so yeah, you know, it's we get so comfortable. We do get too comfortable, and then that day, if it becomes it's too late. Too late to be a thing where it's too late.
And I wanted to do this in 2024. I wanted to be able to close out 2024 with this, to be able to get this done, to build on this and close this chapter and open the new chapter in our relationship, in our fatherhood, and me being a son, you being a father, grandfather, me being a father, and moving forward in only positivity. You know what I mean? Like, the past doesn't None of that shit matters. All that matters is what we're building today and tomorrow.
Right.
Where we're going forward with this shit. And so I want to, like I started off talking about the people, the young men, the young women that message me and contact me and reach out about their ups and downs and guidance. Can you leave just from your point of view, a message to like people that may be going through addiction? And then also I want to have you go talk about like single parent people going through stuff that maybe have split households as fathers, you know what I mean? But let's start like, if somebody's out there struggling with addiction, like what is something that you can leave them, like a tidbit of advice?
Don't beat yourself up. It's it truly is a disease.
Okay.
Know that it's a disease. There's nothing that's wrong with you as a person. It's just that you're in the throes of a disease, and it's a vicious disease.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no cure for the disease. So just know that I'm sick.
Okay.
You know, I'm not weird. I'm not lazy. I'm not a bad person type of thing, because that's it. Then you internalize it. You start beating yourself up, and you start the hole gets deeper and deeper.
Okay.
And you can't get out of that hole.
You're building it more and more.
And the only way you feed that hole or you take care of that feeling is by doing more drugs or more alcohol or stuff. You just don't beat yourself up, man. I mean, it's a matter of taking the steps to correct your disease, you know, to abate your disease, to treat your disease, you know. So just know that it's not cured, but you can manage it.
You can manage it.
You can manage your disease by doing the things that are appropriate for your disease. You know, check yourself in. If you have to check yourself in, start going. Or if you don't check yourself in, go to an AA meeting or an NA meeting, and then
the Serenity.
Listen to some of the stories, because if you think your shit is fucked up, you should think, you know, because when I went in, I said, oh man, I've done this, I've done that. I'm the worst person in the whole world. And I went into, you know, my first meeting, I said, oh shit.
Oh shit. Some motherfuckers out here fucked up.
There's some real, yeah, exactly. So you can relate to it, you know, and say, okay, I'm not so far gone, you know, as that I can't come back from it. So don't ever think you can't come back from it, you know, and take the steps. Make that initial step to admit that I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, I need help, you know, and go to the proper place to get help, you know.
Okay.
And don't beat yourself up.
Don't beat yourself up and acknowledge. But that's profound, because we need to treat it as such, as a disease. Like anybody who has a disease, there's always, okay, it's never going to be gone, but this is how we manage this disease.
Right.
Or this is how we manage this health issue, is with this, or this is what we're going to do for the rest of your life. Like, you have to manage it for the rest of your life. It's not going to just disappear.
No.
It's not just a magic pill that's going to be like, oh, I'm done.
It's work.
It's work. You have to work at it, and you have to be ready to get up and fight that monster in the morning when you wake up.
Right.
It's not going.
Every morning. Every morning you tell yourself, you know, today I will not use, or today I will not drink, you know, and that should be the first thing that comes to your mind, you know, and especially in the beginning. But I mean, you should still do it no matter 20 years in, 30 years in. You get up and say, you know, today I'm not going to use, or I'm not going to drink. Okay. And it's a reminder to yourself why, and then you think about why you're not going to.
Yeah.
You know, what happens if I do?
Okay.
You know? And that itself should scare you enough, you know, to maintain your disease or manage your disease. You know, if you need to call somebody, call somebody. If you need to go to a meeting in the middle of the day, go to a meeting in the middle of the day. You know, I mean, I'm in my car. I used to call Randy on a daily basis. You know, because, you know, just because you're getting better doesn't mean everybody else around you is getting better. You know, so because they're hurting.
Yeah.
You know, they're hurting, and so they're gonna lash out.
Yeah.
Even when you're in your recovery, these people are gonna lash out, and they have every right to.
Yeah.
They have every right to, because you know of your behavior.
Yeah.
You know, so just know that, and just get through it. You know, just get through it and work your steps. You know, and make amends and you know, do work your steps. You know,
And that's basically giving people grace to be mad at you. Like,
yes,
give them the
they
room
have
to be
the
mad
right.
at you. They have the right
Yes.
to be upset.
Hell yeah.
But that's real though. Like,
Yeah.
you can't get mad at somebody or hold it against them for how they're receiving what you did to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, give them room to recover, because guess what? They have to recover too.
Exactly.
The people that are in your life, they also have to recover.
Right.
They're also in recovery.
Right, and that's true. That's true. They have to go. They have to heal.
Yeah.
You know, and there are certain things that they have to do, or should do to heal.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not like it's a snap of a finger and all of a sudden, oh, okay, I'm good. No, you're not good. You know, nobody is. You know,
Yeah.
the family's not good.
Right.
And sometimes the family has to do it all together. You
Yeah.
know? And sometimes they choose not to. You know, I would dealt with the thing, and if they do, you still have to, you know, handle yourself. You have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to nobody else.
Right.
You know, so you got to take care of yourself. You know?
So prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's men that are out there going through struggles of split households, are single parents going through stuff like not being up, maybe being able to be around their children every day, or like dealing with some adverse effects of
Right.
not necessarily divorce or whatever, but just like not being able to be there.
Right. Don't accept don't accept not being able to see your kids because somebody else doesn't want you to see them because they feel they're using them as a weapon. Don't accept it. Don't accept it. You fight. And there's ways to fight. You fight through the legal system. You know, and you documentation. You file for, or, you know, for a hearing. Get it heard. You might not win that first time. You might not win that second time, but each time you might get a little bit. You might get a little bit more. You might get a little bit more. But don't quit. Don't ever quit.
Don't quit on what? Don't quit on what?
On trying to get a visitation and or joint custody of your son or daughter,
right.
You know, or sons or daughters. You know, don't quit. You go through the system. Go. It's hard, and it's maddening. You know, because as you know, I went through it.
Yeah.
With Tyler, and that was one of the hardest things.
It was a long fight.
It was a long fight, and if they don't want you to see them and they don't care about any court orders, you don't see your kid. And a lot of men and mothers, it could be the other way around.
Yeah.
You know, they just get so frustrated and say, okay, well,
fuck it.
And then that's when then you've given up your right.
Yeah.
You know, when you say, and it's easy to do that.
Because they can't deal with the pain, the frustration, and like the hurt that comes from it. They're like, fuck, I'm just going to give up.
Right.
Because it's just too much.
Hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. And I had and thank God, I mean, you got to give it to Rachel. You know, she helped me with that. Through thick
Shout
and
out
thin.
to Rachel.
She typed up everything.
Mm-hmm.
She got the filing stuff. We found people, you know, to do you know, as far as a lawyer was concerned, all that, and it's just and didn't let me quit.
Yeah,
didn't let me quit.
And that's the thing that I would say also is that I see a lot of, or I hear a lot of brothers saying like it's nothing I can do. It's never nothing that you can do.
Never.
It's because look, you're always watching. I did it with JJ. You know what I mean? Like, I established my rights as a father with Jason, even though me and Joni are in a good place or whatnot. You know what I mean? But I went to establish my shit. You know what I mean? Like,
you have to.
You have to.
If you don't, then it's whatever they say.
You're at the mercy of whoever.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, you're leaving? Like, okay, fuck. Like, what can I do? Yeah. So you doing that instilled in me, like, fight for your kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is the common theme.
Yeah.
The reoccurring topic is children are watching. Your children are watching to see what you're doing. And you doing that, I watched that. There ain't no way I'm not going to fight for my kid.
Right. Yeah.
There ain't no way I'm not going to die trying to be with my kid. I used to drive ridiculous to just see JJ and go do homework with him and this and that. And people would be like, what are you doing? Like, I'm being a dad.
Yeah.
What the fuck you talking about?
You're doing what it takes.
Like, what are you talking about? I watched my dad work 2 jobs. You watch your grandpa work and pastor. You mean you think I'm not gonna drive 60 miles to go see my son for 30 minutes? Nigga, you damn right. I'm gonna sit in traffic.
Drop of a dime.
Drop of a dime. I'm gonna go to take him to Starbucks and go do homework.
Yeah.
But guess what? He's not gonna be able to say.
My dad wasn't there to help me do. Yeah.
He ain't gonna be able to say that. You know what I mean? Like at all because I saw it. I know it's possible. There is no give up. I know it's possible.
Don't quit.
So what I tell people is like, no, there's a way. You just have to either get past whatever your blocker is, whatever maybe your ego is, whatever your pride is that's standing in the way. Get it out the way so you can just. The most important thing is that fucking relationship. That relationship with your child, no one can take that. No one can steal that relationship, that conversation.
Those moments.
No one can take that shit. Prioritize that. So that was dope.
Yeah. Just never give up.
Never give up.
Yeah.
And then if you could differently through divorce, like say if you guys went through divorce again, and then your kids are not appearing damaged. They're not appearing like anything is wrong. What would you do differently? Would you say you would have more conversations or talk about it more? Maybe like what would you do differently?
I would process. We would process it as it's not just us. It's not just about us. Even though it's like, oh, we're cool. We didn't have any issues as far as visitation and spending time. That was me and your mom never had that issue, that hassle. We could do. You could be with me. You could be with her. It didn't matter. You could be anywhere. You could be either whatever. It didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
It wasn't a thing. Oh, you can't see them today. No, it wasn't nothing like that. But kids will miss the unity. They will miss seeing the interaction between
the dynamics between the parents,
the two parents, whether they once in the kitchen and once in the garage.
Okay,
mom's in the kitchen cooking, dad's in the garage messing with the car or putting up a shelf, whatever. That dynamic, watching that dynamic, and then at the end, coming in, eating dinner, getting served, watching TV. I could be sitting here. She could be sitting over there, and you guys over there. But you guys see, that you see the working. Somebody's doing dinner. Somebody's putting a tire on the car, or putting spark plugs in the car, or whatever. Or he's outside playing basketball, or whatever.
Show that it's still a unit. We may be separated, but we're still a family.
Right. We might not be in the same room, but it's still even the interaction. Hey, did you do this, or did you go over here? Hey, don't forget to pick this up. Don't forget those conversations. You hear those conversations because each person depends on each other. And that dependence, and that it's a unit, and you see that, and you see that interaction. And it doesn't have to be all lovey-dovey and all that, but you still see them working together. Making things happen, making things function. And that mortgage gets paid. That lights come on. There's food in the refrigerator. We're going to Shakey's, or we're going to Chuck E. Cheese, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Knott's Berry Farm, whatever. We're doing it. They made it happen. They, not him, not her. They made it happen. So that affects whether it's a 3, 4, 8, 12, or a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old. It affects not seeing that working relationship between the two people making things happen.
Dude, that is so crazy. So that's what you would do differently. That was what you would do more of, is that interaction.
Just taking that into consideration.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're watching.
Yeah. And dude, that's so crazy.
That they're watching, and that they don't have to be watching you.
They can hear.
They're hearing you.
Yeah.
They're hearing, hey, well, how, when your mom asked, hey, how was your day? Was everything good?
Yeah.
And then, I had a hard time, but this and that. Then
We're
listen to
listening
that
to the
conversation because
conversation.
it's a real conversation. It's
And
not,
the respect is still
right,
there. That I would, you know what? Damn. I know that that's what I needed to do better with my situation too. I should have done that better. And I was reluctant to. I could have been way better at that. Like showing the relationship, showing that I still love your mom. Like I still love her. You know what I mean? We still love each other. We just weren't good for each other. We shouldn't have, it didn't work.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that this was a mistake. You know what I mean? Like we can still, I should have did, damn, that's a good one, Pops.
I mean, we get along, I mean, to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always rough patches and bumps in anything and everything. But, we cool. I mean, she's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
So.
Damn. You know what? That's what I'm gonna work on. I need to do better at that. That was what I needed to hear right now. I needed to hear that for sure. To put in more effort and be more accountable into making those uncomfortable situations become norms.
Right. It's
going to be work.
Yeah,
it's going to be difficult. It's going to be awkward. But guess what? We need to do this. And when you said like, it doesn't matter how old they are, it doesn't matter how old they are. They need to hear that and they need to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Well, thanks, Pops, man. This is going to be a reoccurring reality check. I'm going to bring you on more often. I'm going to bring you back on in 2025. We're going to just chop it up, okay. Talk about like how bad I feel for you, how sad I am for you about the Knicks and the Jets and the Mets.
My Knicks are good, man. My Knicks are good. The Jets, I've always been the Jets. I'm used to that,
We know the Knicks aren't going to do anything. We know for... You have the three worst teams. How does that happen, man?
I knew you was going to do that. But wait, you know what?
I saw the Knicks and I was like,
I live for today. Every day is a new day. So today, my Knicks are good. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Today, we know the Raiders are no good today.
Yes, but we do. But is there a harder 3-team parlay for somebody to be a fan of? The Nets, the Knicks, the Mets, and the Jets, dude.
Unconditional, unfettered love.
You could have picked the Yankees.
Nope.
You could have picked the Bills. Nope. You could have picked the Giants.
Nope.
You have so many options. Nope. You know what? But we'll talk about that at a later date, and we'll start talking about another subject I do want to talk about is we don't have to cover it this time, but I want to talk about sports, parents and children in sports, and like the role we did a lot of that, and like coaching your children and the fine line between the coaching hat and the dad hat, and having to take it off and balance that out, because I'm doing that with Xander now. And you did that. I played every sport.
Yeah.
Every sport. And I was good at every sport. I wish I'd have did more baseball. I think I would have did more baseball.
I think we did that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but during Olympics used to come
at the same time
as the but I want to talk about that because that's like a really important thing going on right now.
That dynamic and to allow it to be a positive experience as opposed to a negative experience,
And then Xander doesn't want to play football no more, and he wants to play basketball. You know what I mean? And like
that's good.
And then like having to be able to get out of the way, because I'm like, dude, you crazy vicious. What are you doing? We just put on, but it's like it's 8 years old. 8 years old.
8 years old. They want to do things. They want to
go.
Okay. They just all right. So what?
So I want to talk about those kinds of things when we come back. I have more topics, but I want to do a reoccurring, like if it's not once a month, every 2 months, where we chop it up, get on here for an hour or two, and just talk about life.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sounds good.
And we have this shit recorded and archived forever.
Right, for our family.
You know what I mean?
For your family, yeah.
Love you, dude.
Love you, man.
Hey, so this is Reality Check with my pops, Billy. Is it Billy? Do you want to say Billy? Or
Billy's fine.
Billy, okay.
My family still calls me Billy. Yeah.
And so I appreciate you, dude. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Love you too, man.
Love you, man. And Many more of these to come. This is a reality check. This is a dope one. A very important person in my life helped me become the man that I am. Set an example of what to do, what not to do, but how to get up and keep going, how to strive for best, and how to work ethic. That work ethic is just like,
you got to do it.
It's key. You know what I mean? Get your ass up. But I love you. We out of here. Reality check. Boom.